Benvenuto, welcome to Cherry Hill Home Cooking. My name is Mark, and today we're going to make a British style trifle or truffle. Google says it's trifle, so that's what we're going to call it, trifle. I came across this recipe in my hours and hours of being on YouTube, and it looked delicious. We'll wait to put the link to this guy's channel. He's got a lot of nice British recipes on there. He says that this is a recipe from his mom and his grandmother. So it looks delicious. Hopefully it's going to be delicious. But this is actually the first time we're making it. So we're making this live as we tape this. And I'm going to Americanize this a little bit because some of the ingredients that he uses might be difficult to get here in the US. The main one being what they call custard. We'd probably call pudding. Now you can make your own homemade custard. I've never mastered making a homemade custard, although we did once when we did the Disney bread pudding. If anyone hasn't looked at that recipe, as a matter of fact, we'll have Wade link that onto you because that is one of my favorite things in the world. Years and years ago, we had that at Disney. And I did make a homemade custard and it came out pretty darn good. But anyway, we're going to Americanize this a little bit because in his version, he uses an instant custard, and it's a company called Bird's Custard, which of course is very easy to get in Britain. Now, I actually could get that, as I've told you when we've made a couple other British recipes. The Stop and Shop in my area has a really, really good international aisle. And when I was at the supermarket, they did have it. They had it in the powdered form, and they also had it in a pre-made in a tin. Now, the tin was the 14 ounce. I don't even think it was 14 ounce. It was $7.54, and I was not going to pay $7.54 for pre-made pudding or custard. And the powdered one came in kind of like a small ground coffee container. That was almost $9, but of course you get a lot more in that. But I thought, well, I may not use it all. I don't want it sitting in the. I'm sure you don't use it all because you'll only use 2 tablespoons for, I think, 2 cups. But anyway, I digress. Or I go on and on and on. So we're going to Americanize it a little bit. And one of the ways we're going to Americanize it is we're going to use cook and serve vanilla pudding. Now I've got this heating up to start with, and I've just followed the directions. This is a 4.6 ounce box of Jell-O brand cook and serve pudding. Now, several times of all the recipes that I looked at, and I've kind of, this is pretty true to his recipe. And when it mentioned custard, and with this, you want it to be a thick custard. So for this 4.6 ounce box of cook and serve pudding, it calls for 3 cups of milk. So I reduced that to 2 cups and 3/4. Hopefully that will give us the consistency that we're looking at. But because this, you want it to cool down slightly before you add it to your truffle or trifle. So that's why I'm going to start it now. All right, so let's go over the ingredients. Okay, the big ingredient, well, not the big ingredient, but the one ingredient I want to talk about is his recipe calls for a cup of sherry. All right, so sherry is, I believe, a fortified wine. I'm not quite sure exactly what that is, but I think it's wine with whiskey or bourbon or something in it. I guess we could read it. I like sherry. I like it just as a drink with dessert. He didn't say which sherry to use. There's 2 types. There's a dry sherry and there's a sweet cherry, or sometimes it's called cream sherry. It's a dessert, so I got the slightly sweeter one. So we're going to use a cup of sherry. Now, if you don't want to use sherry, because this is definitely a grown-up dessert, whether you'll be serving it to people under the age of 21, I would suggest using white grape juice. And if possible, get the less sugar one or the one with no sugar added, because the pudding's going to be sweet. The raspberry jam is going to be sweet. I think if you use the whole sweet one, it might be too sweet. Not that that's a bad thing. And the reason I say the white grape juice is because that'll have the most mild flavor. And it won't cover up. If you use grape juice, it might take over the taste of everything else, the raspberries and the other things that's in our trifle. So the other thing you could do is use, 14, 15 ounce can of fruit cocktail. Now, I forgot something. I'll be right back. The fresh fruit that we're going to put in our truffle is some raspberries. So again, if you don't want to use the alcohol, go with white grape juice, or you could use the fruit cocktail. Get a can of fruit cocktail, strain the fruit from the juice, use the juice to imbibe your cookies, which we're going to talk about in a minute, and then use the fruit in the fruit cocktail for your fruit. Replace that with the strawberries or add it to the strawberries. All right. The next ingredient we're going to need is some, as I said, some raspberries. So I've got 2 packages of raspberries here. And as we go through this, I'm going to figure out what the exact measurements are. So of course, Wade will put that all in the recipe. Okay. And we need some strawberry jam. The milk is for our pudding. We've got some toasted almonds. I bought the package of toasted almonds. You can certainly get some sliced almonds and toast them yourself. And we're going to need some heavy whipping cream, which is going to go on the top. And we'll talk about that a little bit later. We're not going to do a really light, fluffy whipping cream. In Britain, they'd call it double cream, or he used extra double cream, which we don't do. You can't get that here in the United States. And I'm going to add a little bit of confectionery sugar, 2 tablespoons, to our whipped cream. I don't believe he does that in his recipe, but I do think that needs a little bit of sweetener. I'm not going to add any vanilla to it because we've already got the vanilla pudding. Okay, so the last thing we need to talk about is the ladyfingers. Now, he used a square dry biscuit. I searched and searched and searched for this in all of our 3 stores, and I found it in the Goyer aisle. The last store I went to, I was determined to find it, so I went up and down every single aisle and looked. Now, sometimes during the holidays, you can get ladyfingers in the bakery section. Now, those I don't want you to use those ones. Those are the softer ones. These are the very crisp ones, and you'll see why we want those in a minute. I'm not quite exactly sure how many we're going to need to cover this pan in this bowl, but again, we'll give you those measurements. We'll give you those amounts in the written recipe. Now, he used an 8-cup pretty glass bowl. Good thing I didn't use a glass bowl. This is just a plastic bowl I bought at Walmart years ago, and I use it a lot for, like, if I'm bringing a dessert to somebody's house. But I don't have an 8-ounce glass bowl, 8-cup glass bowl, so we're going to use this one. So it may not look as pretty because it may not come all the way up to the top, but I'm going to use his amounts so that it'll come out like his as much as possible. All right, I think that's it. So again, I followed the package instructions with the exception of, for the vanilla pudding, I only used 2 3/4 cup milk instead of 3. All right, so I'm going to get this done. In the meantime, we'll clean this up, and when we come back, we'll go on with the recipe. Okay, I've got my pudding all cooked, and I've just cut it off to the side, letting it cool down a little bit. Again, remember, I used a big package of it, and instead of 3 cups of milk, I did 2 3/4 cup of milk, and it looks like it might be good. All right, the next step is the hardest of this recipe. It's cutting the ladyfingers in half. Okay, I found the best way is to get a long serrated knife, and don't have to worry about it being perfectly even in the middle. I don't think I've gotten one to come out perfectly yet. But just cut it like that. All right, then we're going to, and the amount of jam that you want on there is totally up to you. You want it really jammy, Pile it in there. I think probably a teaspoon is good. And put your cover on and put it in your bowl. Now, I guess you could do these whole. Again, he cut the biscuits that he was using in half, and I don't know why I did that, but put my spoon there. But I wanted to at least keep it as British as possible. All right, so that's all there is to it. So I'm gonna finish getting these all in, and then I'll tell you how many we need for this particular bowl. Okay, I used 9. I probably could have gotten away with 7 or 8, but I wanted to use up all the jelly that was in my little bowl here. All right, so the next thing is we've got our cup of sweet sherry. And you want to just start to drizzle that on there. You want to get them all wet and bided with this, but we don't want to make them swim yet. We're getting them drunk. And as I said, these are the dry ladyfingers, so this is going to be all absorbed in our cookies here. All right, there we go. All right, we're just going to put these aside for about 10 minutes. Let everything get nicely soaked in there. All right, we got our raspberries, which we actually can add those now. No reason not to, except this guy does not want to stay down for me, but that's all right. And I'm going to say we're going to use a good cup or so in here. Depending upon how much raspberries you want in there, but I think a nice layer would be nice. And we're going to save a couple from the other package to garnish them with. Now, in his video, he says that if you taste them and they're a little too tart, add some powdered sugar. Because we've got the sweetened pudding and the custard isn't that sweet, I'm going to forgo that process, that step. I think they taste good enough. All right, we'll be back in about 10 minutes.
Recording?
All right, our ladyfingers are nice and drunk. And our pudding is, it's warm. I could stick my finger in it without burning. So I think that's about where it needs to be. It looks like it's about the same consistency as his. And of course it is still gonna firm up a little bit in the refrigerator. Oh, it's something about vanilla pudding Just smells so good. I love pudding. That was always my favorite dessert as a kid, was anything pudding. My older brother, he never liked pudding, at least as a kid. We haven't talked about it in a while, but I don't think I don't think he likes it even to this day. And we'll just spread that out. Let it get down there. All right, now we want to put some saran wrap over this. And you can see it's gonna seep down into the cookies and the raspberries. Yeah, his bowl was much shallower than mine, so I may not get a beautiful presentation right from on the top, but it'll taste delicious. All right, so we want this to refrigerate really for a minimum of, I'd say, 3 hours, guys. You could even do it overnight. In the meantime, I'm gonna grab my bowl. We're gonna whip some whipped cream. I've had that in the freezer for a couple hours, getting it nice and cold. I think I'm gonna use the whole I don't know, what is that, a pint of heavy cream? Let me grab the heavy cream. Yeah, it's 1 pint. I'm going to use the whole pint just because, again, I think my bowl is a little rounder than his was, and I want to have a nice coating of that on the top. All right, so I'll get that all in there. I believe his original recipe called for 1 1/4 or 1.5 cups. But again, it's a different type of consistency to the cream. So I'm going to use the whole quart just to make sure we have enough. All right, now, and again, remember, guys, I said we don't want, I'm going to add my powdered sugar in. We don't want a light, fluffy whipped cream. We want a nice, thick cream. So I'm going to just kind of start that out on low. We want about the consistency of Cool Whip. Now, interesting enough, I was going to use Cool Whip, but I thought, oh, that is Americanizing it too much. But I think using Cool Whip for the topping would be perfectly fine. But we'll use heavy cream. Certainly Cool Whip would cut down on the fat and probably even, yeah, definitely on the calories. So I've just kind of moved that up to about medium. How am I supposed to get that? Oh, that's good. Turn up just a little bit more. Get a little consistency, might not splash as much. And then we're just gonna let that go until it gets to the consistency we want. Then we're gonna cover that with saran wrap, and we're gonna put that in the refrigerator. That's probably gonna take a good 3 or 4 minutes, so we'll be back. All right, I don't know if you can see, but it's started to hold its shape a little bit along with the beater. I think that's just about where we want it. So we want it spreadable, but we don't necessarily want whipped cream. All right, that looks good to me. So, and it tastes good too. So I think we're gonna say that that is done. Get off there. Oh, it's just about spreadable, but not whipped cream. All right, so we're gonna cover that with some saran wrap. And I'm going to put it alongside of our trifle. And that's going to make a delicious dessert. All right, well, I guess we'll see you guys in about 3 hours or so. Although it's not going to seem like 3 hours to you. It'll almost seem like just we left a second ago. See you in a bit. All right, our pudding is all nice and set. We've got our whipped cream all made, and we're just about to finish this up. So I'm going to take our beautiful, almost whipped cream. I've got quite a bit of this, so we can put a nice thick layer on. All right. And we got our, I picked out the best strawberries of the pint that was left, that of the 2 pints that I used. And I'm just going to do a little plop around here. Get as fancy as you like. Got our oven roasted almonds. And cost, depending on how much you want. You like lots of them, put lots of them on. Oop. And let's put a few more in here since we got them. There we have a English trifle. And I think it looks delicious.
Ooh, it does.
All right. We'll be back for dessert. See you in a little while. All right. Time to taste our British trifle. Looks good. It smells good.
Wow. That's good.
That's delicious. I was a little concerned with all that.
The booze really come through too.
Very good. It does very much. That's delicious.
It's good. Delicious.
Not bad at all. The more you eat it, the better it is.
Yeah. Only for adults.
Definitely. Unless you use the white grapefruit, white grape, not grapefruit juice, white grape suggestion, or the fruit cocktail. Although I think in Britain,
You can drink beer and wine at the age of 16. Delicious.
That is good.
So I got to say,
So,
but
we try to make this, right?
definitely make it. You will be happy you did.
Yep. Please like and subscribe and check out cherryhillhomecooking.com. See you in the next video.
Ciao.
Bye.
Mm.